Welcome back to One Comic Book a Day, where I've taken my dog for his first 5-mile walk and he's basically dead right now. That's good, because he won't be getting up and rattling his chain while we're standing here talking. Today is Bat Friday, so we're covering Detective Comics number 39, The Horde of the Green Dragon. Great title, not a great story. It's racist, and Batman kills in it. And if we're getting into like structure, it's a little all over the place. There's no really rising action till the very end. There's just kind of like a lot going on, and really it has to support a lot of its plot points by characters being knocked unconscious for a long time. 2 millionaires have been kidnapped. One, when he was kidnapped, his chauffeur was killed with a hatchet. Bruce, while reading this story in the news, says only one person or gang or some sort of affiliation would use a hatchet, which is a fascinating claim to me, and not where my head would go with seeing who's behind this. But before he gets to that, or, when he's talking to Robin or explain anything to either Robin or us, the audience, Robin finds an ad in the paper that's looking for Batman. This actually happens 2 or 3 times with Superman in his comics. Apparently also has a font that only Chinese would use, which, I don't think newspapers allow different fonts unless you pay a lot of money, and a huge logical jump Robin makes here. It's from an old friend. Batman assumes it's from Wong, the unofficial mayor of Chinatown in not Gotham, still kind of New York. It hasn't said it's Gotham yet, so I can't say it's Gotham. So he goes and visits Wong. Wong is happy that he figured out the message, though if he figured it out, other people can figure it out too, which ends up being the problem. Wong was actually from the issue of Detective that dealt with the cursed ruby statue, so it's fascinating to actually see a continuity that involves characters I never thought we'd see again. He tells Batman that the Green Dragon Tongue is bringing in opium into the city, which he is not happy about, and specifically to his people. He tells Batman that he will have important information to take them down at 8 p.m. the next night, so A, he shouldn't have called him right now until he had the information, and B, he's clearly going to die. So Batman arrives the next night. Wong is dead. He has a hatchet in the back of his head. Such a weird way to kill somebody, especially if you're trying to make it a statement where you're propping him up. But Wong was able, I guess before he died, because the hatchet in the back of the head should have killed him immediately, scratch in Pier 3. But before Batman can really get into investigating that, he ends up in a fight with the Tong ninja isn't quite right, but martial artists. He sort of is doing well in the fight until like one fighter is able to tackle him through a window and they both fall to the ground where he's knocked unconscious. So Batman's just laying unconscious in the alley for a while. Robin, after a few hours, who was not allowed to join in this case because Batman was worried for him, it was too dangerous for him, arrives at Wong's because Batman had Wong's address written down somewhere, and sees Pier 3, so he heads over to Pier 3. And if you think this story is going to be somewhat interesting and an idea that Robin has to take over the case and soundly solve it and defeat it without Batman's help, you're forgetting this comic is called Batman. So Robin is knocked unconscious and brought in front of the master of the Green Dragon Tongue, who I don't think is given a name, who has this massive statue behind him, and that's of some sort of idol, and that's important for later. Robin is made to duel a man with a sword, except this guy has a real sword and he has a wooden sword, so it's not going well. But before he's able to actually strike Robin, Robin pulls out his slingshot and David and Goliath style takes out the guy by shooting a rock into his head, or some sort of ball bearing. The master is really angry that they didn't check the rest of his clothes for any sort of weapon, and you know what? I'm on his side on this one. But that's when Batman shows up and does his cool silhouette threatening thing. He then gets into the fray and is able to end this fight by pushing the idol onto most of the members of the gang, killing them. He crushes them with an idol. That's still pretty brutal, Batman, especially in front of the kid. Robin's supposed to make him lighter, less threatening, but man, that's horrifying. With most of the fighters out of the way, Robin and Batman are able to defeat most of the remaining members of the gang and capture the head of the Green Tongue. They free the 2 millionaires, who claim that partly the reason they did this was so the police would think the white gangs, they actually say the white gangs were behind this. So this weird claim of reverse racism. They would have never expected the Chinese gangs to be behind all this, even though this all involves opium, which there's a lot of levels of racism to this whole thing, including like a white grievance to it. So I don't want to talk about it, but God, there's a lot of assumptions here. And everything goes back to normal, and the Chinese of not Gotham are praying to Batman because he saved them from opium. That's a little extreme too. Though I do pray to Batman each time I walk by his statue in Burbank. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look for the Burbank Batman statue online. It's kind of amazing. Okay, so that is it from Detective Comics number 39, The Horde of the Green Dragon. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to get notifications when a new video goes up. I do this Monday through Friday. But Mondays and Thursdays, I cover Superman comics, specifically a Superman story in Action Comics, or one of the stories in the main Superman title. And please join us next time. Same comic book channel, same Bat Day. That was the reverse of how I meant it. Have a great day.